Satya, truth. For Mahatma Gandhi, truth was an all-pervading force that informed all his political activities. Can you imagine truth coming into the political discourse and activity? He said truth was dynamic, it was not static. He said truth can change. If you believe in something today, it can change tomorrow with more information. So it is the duty of everyone to understand the other side of the truth that they believe in too. If they believe in something and there is another point of view, try and understand that other point of view, and that is when your truth will increase. So he said, truth is a spark. It's a spark that will kindle energy in all of us. And truth always goes with nonviolence. It's a composite idea for Gandhi. Truth and nonviolence are twinned, they are together. So let me look at one incident that happened to Gandhi. He had been a very, very successful attorney in South Africa. He was because of his English language, he was able to write for Indians, represent Indians to the government, and work at their legal issues and problems. One day, while he was sitting in his office, a young man came running with his face bloodied and nose broken and teeth broken. He was speaking Tamil. So Gandhi had a Tamil colleague who told him that Balasundaram, the young man, had been beaten up by his owner. He was an indentured labor. His owner had beaten him up because he had asked for some money to go back to his home country. And Gandhi was quite devastated. He said, let me go first and work on this legally. He went and met the owner and told him that he was not going to move legally on him if he agreed to transfer Balasundaram to another owner, and who will agree to treat Balasundaram with more kindness and also look at what privileges that Balasundaram had and those need to be given. It was then that the truth dawned on Gandhi that a social activist was needed to help the Indian indentured labor and others in South Africa. That is when he becomes a social activist. One day, when Mahatma Gandhi realized in South Africa that he needed to go home and bring his wife, and he already had 3 children, and to bring them back to South Africa. So he came to India in 1896 and looked at how he was going to educate the Indians about the injustices that were being meted out to Indians in South Africa. So he published what was called a Green Pamphlet, which listed all the injustices for Indians in South Africa, who had to give a fingerprinting, 10 fingerprinting, and who could not buy any property in the populated areas, etc., etc. All this was published by him. He printed 5,000 copies and they were sold out in 2 days' time. So he traveled around the country talking to the newspaper editors and publishing articles, giving talks. He came to Madras and he was received with such enthusiasm by people in Madras that the students of the university came to the railway station, and there was a horse-drawn carriage that was waiting for Gandhi. They removed the horses and they dragged the chariot, the carriage to Mr. Nateshan's house where Gandhi stayed. This already in 1896, Gandhi was famous in India and in Tamil Nadu because of the Balasundaram episode. Now, Gandhi, when he went back by ship, all this news of his activism of letting Indians know about the conditions of Indians in South Africa had reached the white people in South Africa. They were waiting to take revenge on Gandhi. So several of them were waiting at the harbour, And they also, like just like we have problems of political leaders telling that immigrant population is harmful to the natives, etc. South African whites believed that Indians who were coming would take away their jobs, and they wanted to prevent migration. So this ship had been quarantined in Durban Harbour for 23 days. And then the ship's captain got news that there were people waiting at the harbour trying to lynch Gandhi when he got down. So his wife and children were sent out with the other passengers. And Gandhi was in a dilemma. There were two different advice being given to him. One was by the ship's captain and others who said to wait till darkness and to go in the cover of darkness with the crew members. The other was from Mr. Lofton and Gandhi, who said one cannot enter the city like a coward. So Gandhi agreed to take the second advice, and he walked down with Lofton, and he was attacked. These people attacked Gandhi, and they tore his turban and they threw stones at him. And while he was struggling to get up, one Mrs. Alexander, who was passing by, came and stood in front of Gandhi to save him. She was the wife of the police superintendent of Durban. So she took him to his friend Parsi Rustomji's house, and another group of white people wanted to come there and lynch Gandhi, and they were singing, "Give us Gandhi or we'll burn this house down." Gandhi was given protection in the police office, and the police superintendent Alexander helped Gandhi wear a police officer's uniform and walk out by the back door. And then the crowd was told that Gandhi was not there, and they all dispersed. Now, the same man took two opposite decisions for the same problem on the same day. So Gandhi always said, truth is living in the moment. In this moment, when you're faced with a crisis, you have to understand how you can get over this situation. Non-violently. Are you going to show your bravado and your strength by fighting it? If you know that you cannot fight, how are you going to get out of that situation? That is truth. You must understand the truth of your strength and the situation that you are faced with, and how you can deal with it in the most non-violent way possible. Gandhi declared himself as a humble seeker of truth and wished to live a life of truth and love. As I have already said, Gandhi felt that truth and non-violence were composite words. Where there is non-violence, there is truth. And where there is truth, there is non-violence. If we have the courage to admit that we had believed something that was not truth as truth, or if we are such cowards that we are in denial of truth, it takes courage to accept truth and accept that we may have been misled, or we may have had a misunderstanding. So to understand that misunderstanding, accept that what we believed was not the truth, and to say, yes, we made a mistake and now we are going to correct it, is what takes courage. And that is non-violence. So for people who believe that what Gandhi had said in the 20s or 30s was to be held against him and his statue should be taken down, it is denial of truth, because Gandhi always said, I am willing to change. And so for us to understand Gandhi, it is not what he said at certain point of time or what he wrote at a certain point of time. It is what he lived, how he lived his life and what he did in his life. That is what shows us a light of truth on Gandhi's life. And that is where we can understand how truth played a great role in his life and in his political activism and his leadership. So accepting the truth whether you belong to the community, and if the community has made a mistake, to say yes, we have made a mistake is also courage, and that is truth combined with nonviolence.